college opt-out, and I explained that in a previous video titled Why I'm Not Going to College and What I'm Doing Instead. Today I'd like to talk about a common argument against opting out of college that basically goes, okay, maybe college isn't for everyone, but the only people who should opt out of college is those for whom college isn't going to be a good fit. And that assumes that, most people are a good fit for college, and only those crazy rebels who just got kicked out of high school and can't fit in the box that people in public education are supposed to fit into, that those are the only people who can really opt out of college and become successful entrepreneurs or become successful in any field they want to just on their own power without the help of college. Now, in the real world, it's not so polarized as having one group of people who are good fits for college and one group of people, a smaller group, supposedly, who are crazy rebels who will never succeed in college just because they don't conform to that system. But actually, there's just a ton of variety in people and their learning styles and just what truly ambitious and hardworking people are able to accomplish. A big misnomer about statistics that people who go to college are more successful is the idea that they're successful because they go to college. I'd like to posit, and many other people have brought this up, that it's the ambitious, hardworking people who go to college and therefore are able to succeed just because of who they are, not because of where they are. They're not succeeding because they went to college. They're succeeding basically in spite of college. Not that college doesn't help them succeed, but they'd succeed no matter what they did. And it's only that college was the option that they decided to take. There's a lot of factors as to why someone would choose to go to college. But because we've been telling young, ambitious, hardworking people, go to college, that's the right place for you, they've been going there and they've been doing well. So a lot of people who go to college have been getting, higher salaries, better jobs, being more successful in life, over the past couple of decades. And that's where we got this idea that most people should go to college so that they can become successful, except for maybe these rebels who don't fit in the box, who aren't going to do well in college. The reason I disagree with this is because I actually consider myself a very good fit for college, and I have some data to back myself up. I was on the president's list when I went to my local community college. I got a 4.0 in all my classes, so I have reason to believe that personally I would do very well in college. I would get good grades, I would be well liked by the teachers, and I would come out with a lot of stuff that I'd done fairly well on. But I wouldn't have done my best. And that's one of the big problems with college currently. So the college experience right now, in general, is not on the whole actually a great experience for young people. It's very stressful, you're usually not getting enough sleep, and you're having to work super hard on projects that just seem to be a lot of busy work, but you don't really have an option out of that. There's no option besides, writing these long papers and putting in a whole lot of work and research and doing a lot of reading, unless you want to get bad grades. Plus, it's a 4-year time commitment, so it's 4 years of being too busy to do anything else and being super stressed and not getting enough sleep, which doesn't help the learning process, as well as the fact that a lot of what you're learning is very theoretical and broad. And we're seeing more and more people graduating college having learned for 4 years, but not having learned what they need to know to actually get a job in that field. Because they don't have experience, they just have theoretical knowledge, and that doesn't always apply, and a lot of times it doesn't apply at all. And then the more obvious downsides, the party atmosphere, people not taking it seriously, people just going there for the social aspect and goofing off and just ruining their lives in drugs and alcohol. There's a lot of access to that at many colleges, especially the ones that are more accessible, because it's more accessible for everything. Lastly, but probably the biggest factor currently, is the debt load. There's pretty much no way to go through college right now without taking on student loans, and that means that you're in debt. And for a young person who's very ambitious, who's very hardworking, that can be something they can't work their way out of. Especially if they're just learning theoretical studies that aren't going to help them land a job right out of college. When you get out of college, $100,000 in debt, no job, and how are you supposed to get out of that? All else considered, if it was a guaranteed great program that was getting people jobs that people all acknowledged was actually valuable and that nobody had any complaints about, but it still cost that much. I mean, society's pressure aside, I think that we could still be making these arguments. Don't go because it's too expensive, because you can't put that much debt on yourself when you're so young just starting out. So with all that said, who should go to college if most people shouldn't go? So fields that require a lot of resources, a lot of research, a lot of intensive study, there can be a case made that you would have a much easier time going through college, and that those skills are more in demand, so you're more likely to get a job afterwards if you've gone into that specific place to get that research, to get those resources, and come up with something that's very valuable to others that is able to help you offset that debt load afterwards. But for those people who truly want that, you still need to know the options. You want to go into college with a very clear goal and a clear understanding of how college is going to help you. You can't assume anything. You can't just say, I'm going to go to college because hopefully it'll get me a job. No, you want to really know what you're going to be studying, who you're going to be studying with, and what the outcome is for people who have gone before you. And even then, you want to understand that college is an option. It's not the only path. The problem with going in assuming that college is the only path to get to where you're going is that it gives you an excuse to slack off. The basic idea here is that if there's only one way to do it, then no matter how you go down that one path, if you do it lazily, if you go burning through it, trying to get the most out of it, anyone who goes on that one path is going to achieve the goal at the end, no matter how they travel the path. You're just thinking, okay, the degree is all that matters. As long as I get that, I'm fine. And it gives you an excuse to put in the minimum amount of work required to reach your goal. As opposed to if you go in understanding that college is an option, and that it's an option among many. Other paths to a specific research goal might be harder if you don't go to college, but they're still possible. Like if you're working as an intern in a research lab and you're able to work your way up through the ranks, there may be you may actually get a lot more value out of that than someone going through college because you're kind of coming in as an underdog. You might be working harder, you might be having to make more connections with the people you're working with and really show them you know your stuff so that they have an incentive to help you progress even though you're not going through college. And that creates some competition. That means that the people who are going to college see you and they say, oh, I'm going to college and I have access to a lot more resources than this person who's working their way up one little step at a time. So that means that if we get to the end and we're on the same level, it's going to make me look bad. It's going to make me look like I didn't need to go to college. And so you have an incentive then, understanding that there are options. You can go to college or you can work your way up this way. That you need to show that you chose the right option, that you're going to get as much out of it as you possibly can, as opposed to thinking this is the only way, so I don't really have to go above and beyond in this way. So to wrap up everything I just said in a neat bow, more people could do well in college than should go through college. Ambitious young people who have a good drive are able to succeed in college, or they can succeed somewhere else. They're going to be successful because they are the kind of person who's going to be successful, not because they're the kind of person who's going to do well in college. And the additional reason that we shouldn't be encouraging people who can do well in college to go do well in college is because it can actually be very harmful for those people to be in the college atmosphere, which lets you take on a lot of debt, which lets you be in a very stressful environment, which it often has a very party feel to kind of escape that stress. There are a lot of reasons why college can actually be detrimental as a whole to someone going through the college system, as opposed to someone self-guiding themselves on their own path. The people who I believe should go to college are those who know what they want from college. They have a specific goal. They've researched it among the options and seen that that's the way that they believe they can get the most out of, and that they understand is an option so that they have an incentive to get the most out of it, so that they're not just kind of breezing through on this assumption that's been pushed, saying as long as you go to college and get a degree, you'll be fine, you'll be set, because that's an empty promise. So, if you feel like an ambitious young person who would do well in college, think twice about just going to college because you know you'd succeed. And recognize that you can succeed as an ambitious, hardworking young person without the debt, without the stress, without the party atmosphere and bad influences. You can go and forge your own path without college, just like I am. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I would love to make another video on this topic, answer any questions you have. If you want to hear something else about what it's like to be a college opt-out, ask me in the comments below, and I hope to see you in a future video soon. Thank you so much.